Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And, there has been a lack of Raw and SmackDown reviews on this channel. It's no mystery. I announced when I was going to stop doing this the week after WrestleMania. And, I've been staying true to that. I've just been reporting on certain stories that are of interest or I thought would make good videos. And I want to appreciate people for, the view count has not been as high for the other videos, but people have been watching, and I would like to appreciate everyone here for a moment that hasn't begged me to make wrestling content. But I figured, you know what? Let's watch the Raw reunion. Let's review Raw reunion. Now, I watched the clips. I didn't watch all 3 hours, of course, but I was like, you know what? Let's spend an hour at least, watching the clips, gathering enough information to form an opinion on this show. Now, I knew it wasn't going to be good. See, this is why I don't do the reviews anymore, because, you already know that it's not going to be good. Just, how not good was it? That's pretty much the premise of this video. You've got almost everyone that they could muster together, except for a few like Edge and a few others. They got a lot of the big names: Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Stone Cold. Okay, The Rock wasn't there, for example. The Undertaker wasn't there. Kane wasn't there. So there was a few noticeable omissions, but they got a lot of the people that you don't see on a normal consistent basis. So that's good. That's understandable why they wouldn't, the Undertaker was just there, so it wouldn't feel as special, but that's their fault. But anyway, I figured let's review this show. If this is going to be the last review we do for a while, at least it's a special show. And that's mainly why I'm doing it. It's a special show, right? It's a supposedly special show. I mean, it is. They're getting a bunch of people here. They're paying them to be there. So let's take a look at this show. We'll see how it turned out. We all know how Raw 25 turned out. So I guess the question here in this review, we'll try to find out and surmise at the end, was this better or worse than Raw 25? So here, let's start things off. John Cena is the one to start things off. He kicks it off. The Usos stop him from leaving. They ask him, to engage in a rap battle. It didn't really seem a lot was put into this. Cena just kind of takes a dig at them about, he says, you look exactly like you do in your mug shots. Rikishi comes out. They're about to dance with Cena, but the Revival interrupts, and they've got the Dudley Boys with them. But hold on a second, it's just Devon, because he's an agent backstage. And what was funny? As when the missile sound, went off, it was a pretty big pop, I would say. But then when Devon just walked out, it was like almost all the energy was sucked out of the room, because everyone was just expecting to see both Dudleys. But, Bubba Ray is on the Indies right now. I believe he's in ROH. I don't know what it is. There was some controversy or something with some other indie wrestlers, and, so he's not there. So that was like, okay, they're just bringing out Devon as backup, okay, and Cena just is gone already. He's out of there, and that was really not a very good spot for Cena. When you think about it, a 16-time world champion, and this is what he's doing. He's just rapping with the Usos, and we're gonna dance, and then we're not. I mean, I'm saying, even their most elite top guys, I'll be the first one to say it, guys, they don't treat Cena very well. For a guy that gave them so much throughout the years, I guess maybe they were listening to all the smarks complaining and how much they hated Cena. They're like, don't worry, guys, we're gonna get Cena back now, so every time he appears on TV, we're gonna make him look kind of goofy. That's exactly what it was here. It was they weren't even trying here with Cena. Did this really seem like a main eventer to you? Did this seem like a guy who for the past decade was a top star? Because it didn't to me. It just seemed like, this was just another guy on the show. So they had the match, the Revival and the Usos. The Usos win. It was a little distraction with Rikishi and Devon at ringside. Backstage, and then I expected the Usos and Rikishi to dance, but they don't. They just put their arms up in victory. I'm like, the whole point of having Rikishi out there should have been to do the dance, because that was kind of Rikishi's thing besides the stink face. I mean, it was all about the dance routine with Too Cool. And they could have at least, Scotty 2 Hotty is in NXT. They couldn't at least had the guy come out and dance with them. That would have also made more sense than having John Cena fake do it. But this already, just by a segment like this was a total mess. You already say, what's going on? It's just random legends, mixed in with current roster stars that have nothing to do with one another. Why Rikishi and Usos are paired up? Because those are his sons. But why is Cena there? I guess because, the Usos did a rap battle with New Day. So they're kind of likening that to Cena's Doctor of Thugonomics routine, and this is what I already, guys. It's already giving me a headache trying to process this information, trying to process why they made this decision to be the opening segment. This is how you open things up, and Cena doesn't even seem like a big star, like the guy that would be opening things up. He is the perfect guy to open the show, but not this way. And then it leads into a tag match that no one even cares about. Backstage, you had Santino. You see there's Alicia Fox back there, Tori Wilson, Dana Brooke, and another girl that I didn't even recognize at first, and it was Caitlyn. She kind of looked like a prettier Ruby Riott here, with the shaved head and everything and the tattoos. So, they do a penis joke, but they're actually referring to Santino's Cobra. They say the little guy, and Drew McIntyre walks by and he goes, legends. There's something here to be said about, they're putting Alicia Fox, soon enough, Dana Brooke was, out of the, the camera frame. So they weren't talking about her, but, they had the poster for, the Raw reunion. And I realized that, Alicia Fox has been there for, quite some time. And, she was involved in that whole storyline with Edge and the wedding with Vicky Guerrero. But, I don't know. I'm just having a hard time seeing her as a legend. Is it, is everyone who was on TV, 10 years ago, are they qualified as a legend? Is that, where we're going here? Really, Santino was an entertaining star for a few years anyway. But, are we really going to call him a legend? He won the Intercontinental title. Think about this, guys. Do we really want to say, our legends are Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, Mick Foley? Yeah, you say those names and people will agree with you. Those are legends. Those are guys that have been there and they, really, pushed the boundaries of the WWE. And really led to an upswing in popularity. But, Santino is a legend? Tori Wilson, I will say that because, she was in Playboy a few times. She's, one of the most attractive divas of all time. She was in, some notable storylines. And, she's a very recognizable diva. So that I could say. But, did they also mean that for Caitlyn too, that she was a legend? Because Caitlyn was there for about a year. She had a feud with AJ Lee, and that was about it. So, like, are we really going to go that far? I mean, I don't know. Was she still standing in the frame when Drew said that? But anyway, Drew, like, says legends and walks away. You would have think that like, maybe Drew would beat up Santino because he's like a goofball, and you know, and Drew could just look like a bully and get some heat there because, you know, everyone's having a good time. But like, it's just Drew gets in like a little line there and walks away. And they've done this for like years, where there's opportunities to get some heat. Like, this is what they did on Raw 25. Like, and we're not even part way through the show yet, where they're just like showing faces like, hey, here's this guy, hey, here's this guy, like, here's what he was known for, the Cobra. And, you know, like, they're just like throwing, you know, a few bones there at the crowd, but they're not really integrating these people into the show. Like, they're just there. But it feels like the show is like stopping dead. Like, hey guys, we're having a reunion, so the show's not going to be how it normally is. So everyone just has to, like, you know, they're paraded out there like a circus act. Like, da, 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 da. Hey, here's Rikishi. Hey, here's Devon Dudley. Here's Santino, guys. You know, and then you get some minor people there, and they're just like standing around, and that's exactly the thing. They're just standing around. You know, Tori says, oh, you look like a disco ball to Alicia Fox, and Caitlyn barely says anything. And, you know, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, I understand the premise here. They're putting this out here to try to get another ratings grab. They're you know, but this is just like random. I mean, you know, what is this? There's nothing special about this particular date. You know, July 22nd. What is that? You know, what does that mean? It's just the day out of July. You know, it's not Raw 25. Like, that's understandable because that was the 25th anniversary from when Raw first aired. So of course, you know, you're gonna want to celebrate that. But this is like, hey guys, it's time to have a reunion for no particular reason. Anyway, let's get back on track here. I have so many notes here, it's almost ridiculous, like, because I didn't want to like miss anything. Like, if someone like showed up, I wanted to like make sure I told you guys. What was he? We have Drake Maverick beating Truth for the 24/7 title during a promo. At the end of that promo, the Godfather showed up. You know what was funny? Like, on WWE's YouTube page, like, at the end of that, they just show, like, Charlie with a really cartoonish face, like a facial expression. Like, Charlie did the face, if you guys can remember, when Finn Balor faced off against Bray Wyatt, you know, and he wasn't the demon, he was himself. He was on the top rope, and Bray did the, like, you know, exorcist thing, and he did the facial expression. That was like the same face that Charlie made there. But the Godfather shows up, and on the WWE YouTube page, that they just like cut it off right there. They got the Godfather, they paid the Godfather to be there. So then I'm looking through like Wade Keller's review, because like everything is like all out of order when you watch it on their YouTube page. So like I read like Keller's report to like see like, okay, so what was the sequence of events? That's the other thing what I have to say, guys. Can they pay somebody? If they're gonna put those videos on YouTube and they're gonna make a playlist, can they at least put them in sequential order? Can they at least, you know, have a timeline on the show? Like, instead it's just, oh, here, and it's not like they've done this for 1 or 2 years. Like, I've watched their YouTube page for like, seriously, like a good, like, how many years has it been? Like a good 12, 13 years it's been going like this? Like, God, like, have some semblance of order on your page, for God's sakes. But anyway, I go and I look at someone else's highlights video, and I see the Godfather there, and he goes, you know, like, everybody aboard the hoe train, there you go, and like, that's it. Like, no hoes with him, nothing like that. Like, he just says his catchphrase, and that's it. And that was kind of like similar to Raw 25. He shows up, and he says, you know, that was in the past with the hoes, and so, like, so, okay, so, like, that was your whole gimmick. So you're just going to show up and you're not going to be that way anymore. So like, it's like, then why even show the guy? You want to show him, without like, just saying his catchphrase and that's it. Like you said, it's just parading them out there. It's like Barnum and Bailey for the old time wrestlers. Just like, let's all parade them out there, having them stand around and say their catchphrases, making them look like shells of their former selves. So Cedric Alexander, I think like he pinned Drew McIntyre like last week. I didn't watch the show, of course, but so now Drew beats him up, and he does like the dangerous spot, the reverse Alabama slam right on the apron. Could possibly like crack his whole entire jaw, and then Drew just walks away. Like that's it. Like it's not even a match. He's not even gonna throw him in the ring and pin him. Like that's it. And like they've done this again for so long, and like isn't like Heyman and Bischoff or any of the people there like saying anything about this? Like all the time this has gone on. Like they'll have they like make like it's gonna be a match, then they beat someone up, and then the heel will like walk away. And like if they're gonna go through the trouble of having like Cedric like get his like face planted right on the apron and like risk his health, risk getting a concussion, do you think like maybe they could go ahead and like have the match like make it mean something? Of course not. And here we are, and it's so funny that I had said this. Here we are many months later after I stopped doing reviews, and I said this, like, Drew McIntyre is one of those guys where he's not going to be amounting to anything. They're going to go through the continuous cycle where Drew has some big matches. They look like he's going to be at the top. Like, has Drew even had a WWE title match? Like, has he wrestled for the Universal Championship? No, like, I remember saying that back when they were doing the Crown Jewel event. I said that we should probably have him face Lesnar, that, like, and it would have been believable to have him beat Lesnar because he's a big guy and he's, he seemed like he came back with a vengeance. Then backstage, you had, Drake Maverick again. He's, gets scared by the boogeyman. I will say this. I see a lot of people bashing this stuff with R-Truth and Drake Maverick. This to me is like the most entertaining part on the show because at least you don't know what's going to happen next. There's a lot of movement going on. It's something happening on the show. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece. I'm not saying it's Shakespearean WWE. I'm not saying it's Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression quality stuff. I'm just saying that this is way better than anything else that we've been getting. And like, way better than anything on the show. Way better than parading out legends or having Drew McIntyre, do the same thing over and over. At least this is something different. Yes, it is a total rip-off of the 24/7 rule for the hardcore title, but I believe they already know that. And people have been clamoring for the hardcore title for, the comeback for a while. It was actually a lot of people's favorite thing during the Attitude Era. The hardcore title. Like, you ask people about the year 2000, many people will say that the 24/7 rule was like one of their favorite things about WWE, and it is. I agree with them. It was a very entertaining part of Raw and SmackDown. Of course, the title does not look as good, and it's not the hardcore title, but it's just a cheap way of them kind of getting that type of fun and entertainment back onto the show without having to resurrect an old title, trying to make it something new. And I understand why they might do that. But also it just shows like they're just treading familiar ground once again. But whatever, I'm not gonna knock it too hard. It's something that's decent on the show. So and like I said, I'm not gonna be watching this anyway. So Drake like trips over his bag. Pat Patterson gives like some weak ass kicks. He pins him with one foot. Pat Patterson is the I almost said hardcore champion. the 24/7 champion. That was a pretty good sequence there. That was funny. That was entertaining. What happened next after that? Then you had the Viking Raiders defeating Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Obviously, their moment in the sun has passed. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins. You know, I find it funny that they keep on saying that they won it at WrestleMania, but they won on the pre-show. Let's keep that in mind, you know. But anyway, they let them hold on to the titles for a while, which was, you know, pretty surprising, I have to say. I was, you know, pretty surprised that they had these guys hold on to the titles like as long as they did. They also didn't feature them all the time, but that's nevertheless, they have built, you know, a real empire on screwing over both of these guys. And now, you know, they're not even committing to the Viking Raiders. You know, like, first of all, they don't even know what to call the guys. Such laziness, you know, like, so these guys were called the War Raiders, but like the war thing has always been that actually you could trace that back with WWE to Raw is War. After September 11th, they got rid of the Raw is War, which wasn't really a big deal because they rarely referred to it as Raw is War anyway. And Raw sounded better to begin with, you know, just saying Raw instead of saying Raw is War, you know, like that tongue twister. Okay, so they got rid of that, but JR would always say that, you know, this is a real war and everything. They took that out of the vocabulary. And so I just don't get it. Like, War Raiders was okay in NXT, but it's not okay, I guess, because it's like on national television. It's not on the network, so they can't say War Raiders. So they changed it to the Viking Experience. The Smarks were like going crazy over this. Quite frankly, if I did a review on that show, I would have probably not cared. When did they show up anyway? Was that the night after WrestleMania? Because maybe I actually did review it. I don't even remember, but then they changed it to the Viking Raiders, which I will admit sounds better, but now their finishing move is the Viking Experience. So they're just switching names around. And pretty much, even though I've not been watching, I've observed on YouTube, like, they're not really doing anything with these guys. You know, I see them basically, they book them against Ryder and Hawkins constantly. And they're not going anywhere with them. So, you know, and once again, like, there's no story. These are like big guys, like all tattooed up, and they look menacing. But are they faces? Are they heels? We don't know. You know, like what is their? Why are they dressed that way? They're just like thrown out there for you to just figure it out, just like everyone else pretty much on the show. So, you know, this is. Like, you know, months later, it's the same deal. Hawkins and Ryder jobbing out. Backstage, I had Mike Kanellis. He's talking to someone off screen. Maria comes in. She starts yelling at him. He's talking to Eve Torres, getting some advice on the baby. Then Eric Bischoff appears on screen. And, like, this is the cheapest way possible to get this guy out there. So you mean to tell me this guy's going to be running SmackDown and, like, they're just waiting, like, months and months to show this guy? Like, I talked about Bischoff, like, in Heyman 2 weeks ago. Heyman is, we're going to talk about him in a moment. Bischoff is on the show and he's just, like, there for, like, 30 seconds. He says a little something and he's got, like, this guy is going to be running your program, and you're gonna, like, actually have him, like, writing the show and directing it. I don't know if that's kayfabe or not, or what it is. I don't even know anymore. But regardless, like, you're gonna show him just backstage for 30 seconds and that's it. Like, this guy should be a prime element of the show. Like, if you're gonna debut him, at least it would have been the perfect time. I mean, it's the reunion, it's nostalgia. Have him go out in the middle of the ring, and, you know, maybe say something about Raw, and you know, say, like, I'm gonna be taking over Smack. Like, figure it out. They could have had Heyman and Bischoff face to face. It could have been something. It could have meant something, but at least backstage he's like, well, you guys could come over to SmackDown, when on the actual show itself they haven't even talked about this. Like, if you haven't read it on the internet, you wouldn't know, because they haven't mentioned it on the shows about Heyman and Bischoff taking over. Lazy writing, just pure laziness all around. I mean, you have someone, a big name like Eric Bischoff, one of the biggest authority figures of all time, and he's just backstage, you know, in a segment with Mike Kanellis. Wow. Then they go backstage again, and it's Kelly. She knees Gerald Briscoe in the balls, pins him for the 24/7 title. That was pretty funny. Like I said, once again, like, this is entertaining, and I like how this is like going through the whole show pretty much. This is pretty good. I mean, you know, it's not like saving the show, and it's stuff we've seen, and it might even slightly be watered down from previous things, like the 24/7 rule. Like, they were doing more with it. They were going to like Fun Time USA. They were going to the laundromat. They were going to the airport. We're not seeing it as much with this. You know, they played a clip, and it was, you know, Comic-Con, which was, you know, that was cool to see that. That they actually like have been like going around, and like this is like an actual thing that's transpiring throughout the day. And they did do that. They did say when something was like previously recorded, I think like they might have done that during the 24/7. I think most of the time they acted like it was live. I think the Fun Time USA thing they said was previously recorded, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, then they go to Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe, and we're back to this. You know, everyone says that Roman Reigns is shoved down everyone's throat. I don't really think so, because Roman is like, he's in flux right now. Like, they're not doing anything in particular with them. Like, how many different feuds are they going to have between him and Samoa Joe? It's like reached the point of idiocy already, where it's like, oh, you know what we got to do next, and like, you know, Samoa Joe's like, well, before we do, let me you know, he does like the fake out, the punch. Like, it's the same setup every single time. I mean, like, this is just a show that refuses to evolve. Like, they won't do anything different at all on this show. They won't like even try to like, you know, change up the wording or anything like that. It's the same thing as the last few. But Roman just mows him down with a spear, and that's it. And people are like all for Samoa Joe, and like I said, once again, I don't know what it is. Joe comes out there with the same tights he did 15 years ago in TNA. He cuts the same promo. He talks in the same tone of voice. Like, I'm sorry guys, but like, I never could buy Samoa Joe as a badass. And maybe that's just me, but like, no one else is, because if Samoa Joe is such a intriguing badass, do you really think that like people would not be watching? No, they probably would be watching. They would say, oh man, this Samoa Joe's great. I can't get enough of him. I mean, to me, guys, like, he's just a fat, out of shape guy. Like, I've never understood the appeal, ever. Then we got probably one of the cringiest segments on the show, without a doubt. Seth Rollins is on Miz TV, and like, this Miz TV segment, like I've said it before, a lot of people hate the Miz. I think that Miz is probably one of the best heels, but now he's not a heel. I don't know, he was like oddly quiet in the segment. Paul Heyman like gets up on the Titantron. Seth Rollins is just super cringy here, you know, but remember guys, we're just jealous of him. I mean, you know, he starts doing the thing with Paul Heyman, and whether or not like that was written for him, I don't know, because there's been times when I see he cuts promos where there's no way that that's written for him, because you could tell like when it's off the cuff with him. Whatever the case may be, Seth Rollins just is intolerable goof. You know, this guy, like, oh my god. The beast, the beast. Like, oh my, like, just enough already with him. And like Brock Lesnar, they couldn't get him to be on the show. It's the reunion. You have all these legends. You could have had Brock come out at the end with all the legends and just massacre everybody. But no, let's keep the Universal Champion on one of, like, we want to do a ratings grab here. Do you think maybe they could have done something eventful with their champion? Of course they're not. They're going to keep him at home. That was probably the most perplexing thing on this show, because I'm not surprised by, like, them parading out legends for a cheap cash grab, for a cheap ratings grab. This is one of the few times where they sold out an arena. But like I said, you can't blame people. You hear that all these legends are going to be here, you're probably going to want to buy a ticket. But, like, you're not going to have the world champion be on this show when there's so many opportunities of what you could do with him. And speaking of Eric Bischoff, let's talk a little bit about Paul Heyman here. And, like, the past few weeks, like, the announcement's been made. Everyone on the internet knows that Paul Heyman is going to be in charge of Raw. So, like, why are we, like, hiding that fact? Like, if Eric Bischoff just acknowledged that he's going to be in charge of SmackDown, why is Paul Heyman just acting like the advocate for Brock Lesnar still? Like, what do we have to wait till this magical period of August? Like, it has to be August before these characters could act a certain way. Like, could Heyman at least acknowledge what's going on? Like, I mean, or is that just like, we're not ready yet? So, like, then they shouldn't have announced it yet. Keep that under wraps and say it when you're ready. Because when you announce it, I expect that on the next show, these people are going to act accordingly. So, Rollins says a little something and Heyman goes running off. That, just like pre-WrestleMania, basically. It was the same thing. Then you had a Candice Michelle and defeating Kelly backstage. And, this, this was like a little bit awkward. Like, Melina was backstage and she said, "I got my license." And Kelly says, like, "What license?" And then she shows she's got the referee shirt. Then she did, like, the little dance. And I never noticed that, but without the theme music playing, that's, like, very awkward. But, Candice looked great, I have to say. Then Medusa came in. She started choking Candice. Then she won the 24/7 title. So, again, like, they're keeping it going. This is pretty, it's entertaining stuff, at least. Like I said, like, at least it's something a little bit different that they haven't shown over and over. They showed Sami Zayn insulting Kurt Angle and others backstage. Rey Mysterio then has a match with him. RVD comes out. Sergeant Slaughter comes out. Hurricane comes out. What was it? Sergeant Slaughter, RVD, Hurricane, and Kurt Angle. There you go. So, like, all four of them just come out. And once again, it's, like, super random. Like, why is it just these guys? It could have been, like, anyone else, but it's them. So they just show up on the stage and they try to stop Sami Zayn from escaping. Rey gets the win in the ring. Like, we haven't seen RVD in about how long has it been? 6 years. And here he comes waltzing out, and it's like, well, we just saw the guy on TNA. You think they would make a big deal about it? Like, again, like another former WWE champion. One of the guys who got one of the biggest pops of all time when he won the title from John Cena, right? Remember that? Like, okay, so now we're not going to even acknowledge RVD as being a big time player. Here he just seemed like another guy. He just waltzes out on the stage, doesn't say anything, doesn't cut a promo. He does hey, remember when he did this? So Rey did a little tribute. He did a 5-star frog splash to win the match, but that's about it. Once again, it's like these it could have really been anybody. You could have had any legends, any, big names on this show, and they did the same type of routine. What was this person known for? Have them say it, have them do it, have them do the mannerism. Just show them on TV, like one after another. It was like an assembly line of legends. And here it was like the perfect example. Like, here's just a bunch of guys. There you go. There's your legends. Just shove them down your throat and that's it. Then you had Ted DiBiase buying the 24/7 title from Medusa. They did a cutesy thing where she was like about to throw the 24/7 title into the garbage, much akin to when she threw the women's title in the garbage when she showed up on Nitro back in the day. So, that was a pretty funny little comparison that they did. Then you had Seth Rollins defeating AJ Styles by disqualification. The OC, which what does the OC even stand for? That, like, can someone, like, I'm gonna probably look it up after this, but, like, what does that even stand for? I was just like, I don't even know. I couldn't even figure it out. Like, that's not any of their names. It has nothing to do with the club, whatever the. I guess it's the original club. Is that what it stands for? I'm just guessing right now. I'm guessing that that's what it means. So DX comes out, Nash and Hulk comes out, X-Pac's there, and this just feels like a repeat of Raw 25, but like on that show it was instead of AJ it was Finn Balor, and they were against the Revival instead. So I guess this was a little bit better, and they start fighting with each other. I'm like, okay, it's enough already. They've done the DX reunion to death. Like, let's move on. We see Triple H all the time. All of a sudden, Shawn Michaels wants to be active again, inspired by the Saudi money, and now all of a sudden he wants to get back in the ring. He's doing clotheslines again. He wouldn't touch anybody a few years ago. It's like so odd. Like, all of a sudden the guy just comes out of retirement after how many years? After 10 years, all of a sudden he wants to come out of retirement. You had Drake Maverick defeating Ted DiBiase inside the limo. You couldn't even see it, which I really don't understand. I guess some guys didn't want to take bumps. I don't know why he couldn't just roll him up from behind, but regardless, it doesn't really matter. A bunch of guys then go chasing after Drake Maverick. And here we go. Now we're going to talk about Bray Wyatt. So, or The Fiend. So this is something that I knocked, and like, I really meant it. Like, the Firefly Funhouse, I can barely even say that. Like, anyway, they did this segment, and I wasn't really caring for it. Like, honestly, like, I get what they were going for here, but like, I don't see the correlation. Like, he was a nice guy. I guess he was trying to change his ways, but now he's like even more evil, or like, I don't know. Like, what was wrong with the Bray Wyatt character before? What was wrong with like the evil hillbilly character? Like, I don't know. Just because they butchered it, Bray Wyatt had to come up with some other ridiculous idea. And the thing was, everyone was telling me, well, this is Bray Wyatt's idea. I don't care if it was Bray Wyatt's idea or not. I didn't like it. That's my opinion on it. I didn't really think it was like, it was good. It was like a little hokey, I'm like, it's enough with hokiness. Everything is freaking hokey on this show. So anyway, we've got Mick Foley out in the ring. Drake Maverick is being chased through the ring, and he pops out the other side. Everyone's chasing after him. So I like that. It's still continuing the 24/7 thing. Is that hokey as well? Yes, but it's entertaining. It's something that we have not seen in a very long time. At least there's different players involved, than from the old 24/7 rule. But anyway, Mick Foley's cutting a promo, and he says, I'm going to get my 24/7 title before, the night is through. He's going to try to get the belt. They kind of reminisce, like, Why are we even reminiscing tonight? Like, I don't get it. Like, what is the event tonight? Like, what is July 22nd? Why is this a special night? Why do we have to have a reunion? Like, it's so obvious that they're just doing bad. They just want to have some classic faces on there that people are going to want to see. You know, because no one wants to see all the other, you know, Mamalukes that are on there night after night. Because those are the ones that are drawing the bad ratings. It's not their fault, but, you know, like, so this is what they do. I don't understand why people don't like our bad writing and poor character development, so we're just going to go back to the well again. Anyway, you know, this is just like Mick Foley, like, they have nothing for him. There's no reason for him to be there, so he doesn't really have a lot to say. You know, he's going to reminisce about the time he won the world title from The Rock on Raw for the 35th time. I mean, like, okay, listen, we all know this happened. And all this does is when we see this is we just remember better times. So the more and more that you, like, rub this shit in our face and keep, you know, telling us about, you know, the good old days, it just makes us want to watch the good old days on the network and say the hell with all this current garbage. So Bray Wyatt shows up out of nowhere. Cole starts yelping on the mic. Like, this actually could have been pretty scary. The mask and everything, the Fiend, I like that, actually. That looks cool. That is a pretty freaky looking mask. And you know, Bray has him in the mandible claw. And, like, this segment, this would have been a lot better if nothing was said, you know, or just Cole said, "Oh my God," and then he shut up, or someone said, "Oh my God," whatever. But instead, he's like commentating it like it's a match. Oh, he's got him in the mandible claw. Like, okay, you know, you don't need to, like, you know, drive the nail right on the head here. I mean, we get it. You don't have to, like, telegraph it. Like, we understand what's going on here. Mick Foley's getting attacked. If the whole premise of Bray Wyatt's character is for him to be creepy, then shut your mouth. It was the same thing, like, back in the day with WrestleMania when Cole was commentating when Boss Man was being hanged from the top of the Hell in a Cell. Like, how do you commentate during this? There's a little tip. You don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he has ruined so many moments by not knowing when to shut the hell up. And I mean, maybe we can't blame him. Maybe, you know, Vince is in his ear. Say something. I don't know, but it definitely was like, it could have been a good segment, you know, but they're not going to follow up on it. So what's the point? Okay, people are going to say that Bray Wyatt got heat here. Okay, he got heat. So last week he attacked Finn Balor. This week he attacked Mick Foley. So what are we getting from this? You know what I mean? Like, where are they going with the character? I'm going to give you a hint. They don't know where they're going with it. Because week after week, they don't know what they're doing one week to the next. So they're just, okay, here's Bray. You know, he's acting creepy and attacking people. You know, you never know when he's going to strike. But there's no story, there's no rhyme or reason to it. So, you know, that's what you're getting. This is why there's no point in watching. They're not giving you a reason to watch. Here's some characters with potential. Here you go. We're going to, you know, jingle them in front of you like a pair of keys and then, like, take them and, like, throw them in the lake. You know, that's what they always do. Ooh, here's potential. And then, you know, just get rid of it just like that. And then they're going to blame the wrestler. They're going to blame Bray Wyatt. They're going to sit around. Oh, what went wrong? I don't understand. Why can't we build stars? You know, it's the same song and dance week after week. Like, so I just don't see a point to it, guys. I mean, you know, like I said, it's a cool mask and everything. It's a cool little character change. I don't understand why we had to go through the whole Firefly Funhouse thing to get to this point. Like, honestly, like, if you sit there and you analyze it and you really look at, like, why do we have to have, like, 9 separate, like, episodes of that just to get here? Instead of just, you know, having Bray be, like, resurrected and just, like, all of a sudden be this character. I get, like, they wanted to have some type of backstory behind it. But I don't know. To me, it just, I don't see the correlation anyway. But guys, that's just my opinion on it. I know a lot of people love the Firefly Funhouse stuff, but you know, to each his own. Then they had the moment of bliss, and this was probably the cringiest segment on the whole show. And should we really be surprised, because it's cringy Lynch, and Natalya was also pretty bad on the mic as well. And what is up with this thing? I've been observing this. Nikki Cross, like, they make her like the best friend of Alexa Bliss now. They took away the crazy gimmick, and she's just sitting there like a bump on a log, not even saying anything. She's like she's just sitting there. And I don't understand the point. Like, she's not doing the smiling thing anymore. They just turned her into a bland character. Such a smart idea, right? Take away her character completely. Make her just like a normal girl on the roster. I don't know. Then you have a cringy Lynch just starts fighting with Natalya. And this is the crazy thing. Out of all the people that she could wrestle at SummerSlam, they picked Natalya. Like, again and again. Like, I get it, she's Neidhart's daughter, and she's a good wrestler, but like, she's not over with the crowd. She's never been over with the crowd. The crowd does not like her. You haven't given her a reason to like her. And it's just like, why do they keep going back to her? And it's like, it's silly. It's like, okay, here's a few months of Natalya, then they don't show her on TV for a while. She's Ronda Rousey's best friend. She's her training partner. Then they don't show her for a while. All of a sudden, she pops back up, and she's like, now she's like wrestling at the second biggest event of the year. And what happened to cringy Lynch being the next big thing? Remember, everyone said that she was going to be a huge, massive, impactful star, and that might have been true. But now everyone is just whatting during her promos. You know, you hear everyone was saying what after every word. So this, to me, this does not seem like someone who is, you know, going to be like the female Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, are we still on that topic? I don't know, unless the Seth Rollins, I think it was maybe the Seth Rollins storyline with her and Seth, but they've cooled that down now. You notice they didn't even interact on this show. Now they've completely abandoned it, which is something that they do. It's like, okay, so we're gonna do it badly, and then we're just gonna completely abandon the storyline altogether. So now we're not even gonna have Seth and Becky together again. I guess that's it. They're just completely doing away with it. Good, I guess. Bad, because once again they're like admitting to their failure. Which is pretty commonplace for them. But this was like such a bland, paper thin promo. Like, no emotion or anything like that. And you can see, like, Becky is like, she doesn't have the energy to do this anymore. It's like she like drained herself completely. You know, because it was so put on. It's like, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, like, it's pretty obvious. You know, you can't be something you're not. Like, you see when a wrestler can't play a character because that's not who they're meant to play. Case in point, you see it right here. R-Truth gets the title back from Drake Maverick. I thought this part was particularly funny, as his wife is like hanging on to Drake, and she like lets go, and like Truth ends up rolling him up. He then jumps into the limo when his wife goes speeding away. Drake is like more upset that the 24/7 title got lost, and he's not as upset that like Truth just drove away with his wife. So Carmelo like is like just standing over him, and then he kind of tries to fake concern for his wife. So this has like a few layers to it. It's pretty funny, like how they're laying this all out. And isn't it kind of funny that Drake Maverick is being more entertaining than Seth freaking Rollins or any of these other goofballs on the show? I mean, Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud, this tiny little guy like that, what was it, last year they were having him pee in his pants. He's like putting on the most entertaining performance of the whole entire show. I think that's good for him, but also sad at the same time for everyone else. Braun Strowman is wrestling a jobber. Wow, is all I could say. This is how Braun started off on Raw. And I saw this like being posted numerous times on their YouTube channel for this video. So, Braun Strowman starts off on Raw like doing this. 3 years passes. He's wrestling Roman Reigns. He's wrestling Brock Lesnar for the title. He has a feud with Bobby Lashley. By the way, Bobby Lashley wasn't even on this show. I don't know if he's injured, whatever the case may be. We fast forward almost 3 years, and Braun Strowman is having an Extreme Rules match with Bobby Lashley, right? He pushes him through the LED wall or whatever it was, and now he's wrestling a ham and egger. Like, progress? Like, I don't get it. Like, this is the Raw reunion also of all shows, and the most they could think to do with Braun Strowman, a guy at one point who I truly believed was going to be their next big star. Like everyone was cheering for this guy. When he was wrestling Roman Reigns about 2 years ago, it looked like Braun Strowman was going to be a huge, massive star, and he was for a while. But what happened? Classic WWE goofing things up, muffing things up again. And there you go. Braun Strowman's right back to square one. I guess people will say, well, they're just doing this, to establish a win for him. Against a guy who is like half his size, 150 pounds. I mean, if you ever need an example of like they don't know what to do from one show to the next, once again, the phrase case in point. Right here, you see it. They don't even know what to do with a guy with like Braun Strowman. A 7 feet tall monster. Okay, I get it. He shows up late to the show. So if that's the case, I mean, are we like I've asked this question for a long time on this channel. So are they going to just have him go in one big loop every single year? Oh, here he goes. He's on the uprise, and bring him back down again. And it's really like this guy didn't even have a match at WrestleMania. How can a guy like this not have a match at WrestleMania? Every single time WrestleMania rolls around, he's either on the pre-show or he's teaming with a referee's son. That has been the career of Braun Strowman. Then we have the closing segment. Hulk Hogan cuts a promo. I think he handed the mic to Ric Flair, but Ric Flair didn't even say anything, so that was a bit odd. Good to see Hogan back on TV. I'm so sick and tired of all the controversy. Just let the guy back on TV. I've said it time and time again. He made a mistake. He's apologized. He did the whole apology tour. It's like all these people in the WWE make like they've never made mistakes. Like, I mean, honestly, like Vince McMahon said the N-word on TV to John Cena. And it was nationally broadcast. And he's allowed to be on TV. Like, okay, that was part of the show. I get it. But, where is the standards? Like, who is to say when someone is allowed to be back? I'm so sick of all these politics and everything that goes on this show. Hulk Hogan is a legend. He didn't kill anyone. He did not hurt anybody. It was a comment. It was a stupid comment. It was a comment that he didn't even know that he said out of anger. Everyone knows that Hulk Hogan is not like that. Obviously you look at the company that he keeps, and there's no possible way that he feels that way. And, but people still want to go with the motive, and Mark Henry, he wants to look the other way on the stage. That's all fine and well. It's kind of like, I get it. It's insulting, but Mark, you see Hulk Hogan with Mr. T and Zeus and all these other stars. Hulk Hogan has apologized. He said it out of anger. Can I ask a question? Has Mark Henry ever said anything about other people, do you think? Because I'm going to say that I think maybe he has. Because I think just about everyone has said something much to that akin at one point in their lives. Either stupidly, by accident, or out of anger. So I'm just saying, Mark Henry wants to play the saint here and everything. But, come on. Like, give me a break. You're going to, like, look the other way on the stage for the guy. Like, come on already. Like, how many years ago was it? How many times has he apologized? And it wasn't like one of these rehearsed apologies either. Hulk Hogan is pretty heartfelt when he talks. That's just my opinion. I know there's going to be a lot of people that disagree in the comments. Oh, Brad, blah, 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 whatever. But anyway, Stone Cold comes out. He cuts a promo in the ring. And, I don't know. This just, to me, you guys know Stone Cold's my favorite wrestler of all time. But this was just like smooching the asses of the fans. The fans behave badly. They hijack shows for years, and we're like going to bow down to them. Oh, thank you, fans. Yeah, of course, yes. The fans pay the tickets. They pay the wrestlers' salaries. We get it. Great. The fans, but the show is terrible, okay? This is what I'm so sick and tired of. We're all acting like this is some great show. We're all celebrating. The show is in shambles. The WWE is a complete joke. People are not watching it. The only way that you could get people to watch this show is with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. Because these guys, they're the ones that made people watch in the first place. And there's going to come a time when you can't trot these guys out all the time. Also they've always had opportunities to have Stone Cold on the show, but they only ask him to come when they need him, when it's for a ratings grab. Otherwise, they don't need Stone Cold. I don't know if it's because sometimes Stone Cold criticizes the show, but actually, if you watch his podcast, maybe it's because he talked to Enzo and people like that, but regardless of the case, it's I feel like they sometimes punish the guy. They don't want him to. It was like with JR. They only called on him when they needed him, because sometimes he criticized the product, but he's not being like Vince Russo. He's not doing a whole critique on the show and saying this is good and that and that's bit a lot of times. I've listened to Stone Cold's podcast. He holds back a lot because I think he really loves the business and he doesn't want to hurt certain guys' feelings. But sometimes he does say certain things, but I guess that's too much. WWE, McMahon doesn't want any criticism at all because according to him, the show is it's great. It's amazing, right? That's why we need to trot out all these old legends. But the last promo, it was I'm not gonna say it was well spoken. I mean, it's Stone Cold saying it. Obviously, it's unscripted. It came from the heart. And Stone Cold, he does owe a lot to the fans, but also Stone Cold, you owe a lot to yourself because you were great. You also spoke up when you didn't like something, which is something that these knuckleheads don't do. They just go ahead with it. Everyone's super scared and everything. And I get it. That's your job. But this is also wrestling, and there's way too many cowards. There's way too many yes men. I mean, we're talking about people that when they get released from the company, when they get fired, people are actually nice about it. Hey, thanks for the time, guys. I enjoyed the opportunity. That's a bunch of nonsense. There should be more Enzos in the world where they just tear them apart for being a bunch of mamalukes and just, not being kind or being human-like to these wrestlers. So, anyway, guys, those were my views on this show. So, was this better than Raw 25? I'm actually going to go ahead and say yes, it was. Why? Because the 24/7 thing was slightly entertaining. Yeah, and I don't, they still had the same problem with trotting people out and everything, but Raw 25 had like nothing that I enjoyed. So this is not really like, it's not saying a whole lot. Both of them were bad, terrible shows. Let's not mince words here. This was a boring, pathetic show that showed that you could have all these legends on this show, but if you still don't know how to write, it's not going to make a difference. Once again, proven right. You know, I knew the show was going to suck because it doesn't matter if they have Eric Bischoff. It doesn't matter if they have Paul Heyman. That, you know, it's not going to matter at the end of the day because they're just going to keep continuing to do business the way that they do because they think that this is the right way. They want to keep on being lazy. They want to keep putting no effort into the show. And this is the type of success that they're going to have. You know, they're just going to have a bland, boring show. And they're not going to have a lot to show for it. So, you know. There you go, guys. There is your Raw reunion review. I really doubt there's going to be a SmackDown review. I really doubt I'm going to be reviewing Raw next week because this is the type of show that wants me to more solidify taking a break. Like I said, I just wanted to do something a little bit special for you guys. I wanted you to be happy seeing a review of this show because I'm sure, you know, you were probably curious on my thoughts. Maybe you weren't, and I'm just forcing them on you, but whatever, guys. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get notifications when I post on my new videos, and guys, I will see you next time.